Why, hello there. Thanks so much for joining us for the Long Comics Book Club, a bi-weekly podcast about long comics, also known as manga and graphic novels. My name is Shane, and I'm the older brother. I'm joined by Spence, the younger brother. Spence, if you had to be BFFs with someone from Batman's Rogues Gallery, who would you choose?
I'd go with Bane, honestly. If Bane liked me, that would be the best, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's just he's like hyper competent, super tough. He
He'd
he
just
he
be like
he, he,
a
tre he treated his henchmen really well in his first appearance. I think Bane would be a cool guy to be.
okay, he's a handy guy.
Yeah.
He's a friend that's just like handy to have around. Just like a generally I was gonna say nice guy, chill guy. Not the case for
Yeah,
Bane, but I don't know.
he is a nice guy to like people who are like his subordinates. So
Well, there you
yeah.
go. Why not be BFFs with Bane? I was gonna say Poison Ivy so that I can have. She also seems pretty chill, and then also, I'm sure she would give me vegetables and things.
Yep.
So, so I'm looking for my friendships, material goods. But of course, this question was inspired by the long comic we read over the past 2 weeks, which was Absolute Batman, which is also what we're talking about today. If you're not familiar with our podcast, we take the first half of our show to talk about the long comic we read over the past 2 weeks, which again was Absolute Batman. That was written by Scott Snyder with art done by Nick Dragotta. We'll give our reactions, takeaways, discussion points, book club things. And for the second part of the show, we'll be chatting about some of the other visual media we've consumed recently. And to make sure you avoid spoilers, we'll include time codes in the episode description. And of course, we'll end the show with Spence introducing the long comic for the next podcast, which will come out on September 27th. To be notified of when the podcast is out, you can follow our Blue Sky or Instagram. And you can also follow us on YouTube or TikTok for short form clips if you don't have time for a full episode and just want a quick highlight. We also have all of these links on our link tree, where one of those links is to VesperiaComics.com, because Spence, of course, is our owner and proprietor of Vesperia Comics, not just an online store, but physically located at 1935 West Broadway in Vancouver, British Columbia. Spence, I hear that we have an exciting update around a nomination, perhaps.
Oh yes. Well, I guess spoilers for what we because we but by the time we've released this, we'll know the answer. But we have currently we were nominated for Best in Vancouver for the Georgia Strait for Best Comic Book Shop. And by the time this is out, we will know whether we are the best comic or how well we placed.
Yeah, so I guess updates are updates TBD.
Yeah.
But an exciting update nonetheless. What do they always say on the award show? It's an honor just to be nominated.
No, just exactly. It's not yeah. Not that there's a ton of comic shops in Vancouver, but hey,
But
we'll
hey,
take anything we can get.
of them, you're in the top five. So I'm sure that there's probably a couple that haven't made the cut, but pretty
I
cool.
don't know about that. Pretty much all of them.
You think all of them made the cut? No, there's only. I'm sure that some.
I think there's legitimate because I think there's only four comic book stores in Vancouver, basically, and then one in North Van, and
Well,
that one got nominated.
I didn't see kids books on there, so
Okay, yeah, there you go.
there you go. Beating out the children's bookstore. But of course, if you are wanting to pick up any manga or graphic novels, why not go to the Georgia Strait nominated VesperiaComics.com? They carry a wide selection of different graphics, novels, carry a wide array of different graphic novels, comics, manga, including, of course, Absolute Batman. So
Yep.
speaking of,
Assuming it's not sold out because it's a very good seller. We are currently down to just the hardcover edition only, but that'll probably be. We have more in the mail coming.
okay, there. Otherwise, I mean, hey, maybe you're a fancy graphic novel hunter, in which case hardcover, pretty fancy, pretty cool way
Yeah.
to go. And so, if you haven't read the book yet and you want to avoid spoilers, this is your time to look at the time codes, jump ahead. But if you haven't read the book and want to listen anyways, that's also great. Maybe this conversation will help you decide if it's worth picking up. So we're just diving straight into things today. Spence, kicking us off. Why did you choose Absolute Batman for our long comic?
Well, I guess the big thing is, like, since the Absolute series is 100% the biggest thing in comics right now. Pretty definitively, we have sold since we've opened the store, we have sold more Absolute comics, like in terms of like pure floppy single issue comics. We have sold more comics from the Absolute series than every other type of comic put together. So they are far and away the most popular stuff going right now. And Absolute Batman, Scott Snyder, the writer's kind of like the centerpiece. This is kind of the centerpiece one of them all. And I love Batman, so let's do this one.
Yeah, why not at that point? Get in with the hotness, catch those trends. Where striking while the iron is hot. This seems to be the thing that everyone's looking for. So
Yeah.
exciting to see what's all the hype about. Be able to
Exactly.
jump along. And so you mentioned Scott Snyder as a big name. Is there any relation to Zack Snyder, or is that just a odd
That's
coincidence?
that's just an odd coincidence. The funnier one is Scott Steiner, the professional wrestler, because their names are so
Okay,
similar.
so
And there was like
that's
a
very
hot minute
close.
when I had them like confused. Like once the first time I heard Scott Snyder, the comic book writer, I was like, "Isn't that a professional wrestler?" And I was like, "Oh, right, Snyder versus Steiner."
That's very similar sounding. That seems like an understandable mistake. And you
Yeah,
say the biggest.
yeah.
No, no, no. Go. What were you
I
gonna
was just
say?
gonna say, and then because Scott Steiner's like a crazy person, like his wrestler persona, so it's very
Ah,
funny when
that
he's the one who like he's a genetic freak, can't be touched by nature. So it's kind of funny to imagine him writing a comic book,
genetic freak that can't be touched by nature.
or I don't know anything about wrestling. Okay,
Okay, was that something that you read somewhere? That was just what you.
that's his like catchphrase or something like that.
I'm a genetic. Okay.
The genetic freak thing, yeah. There's a really this is such a weird digression. There's a really famous like promo he did about like the numbers don't lie, and it's like the most ridiculous math thing you've ever heard of him like trying to make and it just makes no sense. It's great.
Okay. Uh,
Moving
okay.
on.
The infamous Steiner math promo. Okay. I've clearly need to look into things further around Scott Steiner, but wow. Talk about a next level. It was a
Yeah,
next
deep. We're
level.
doing deep pulls today.
Yeah, we're just straight and maybe perhaps the most off the rails that we've started off. But uh, okay, when you were mentioning that this is the sort of biggest thing in comics at the moment, are you specifically talking about DC or is this even in the Marvel
Oh, like
universe?
in general, like
Wow.
yeah, uh,
Okay.
far and away. Like the next closest thing was probably there was a big X-Men reboot with Giant Size X-Men like during the
Hmm.
summer, but
Mhm.
even then it was, and also my experience of that. I might be slightly biased by how popular that is because Adam Kubert was like the artist behind that, and then we had him come in while it was
Mhm.
happening, so that
Yeah.
probably increases how big I thought that was.
Yeah. Well, understandably so.
Yeah.
I think that you are appropriately biased when you have met the artist behind the work. It makes
Yes.
sense that maybe you put a little bit more credit towards it in that case.
Yeah.
And so, Absolute Batman, do we know where the choice to, I mean, do we ever know where they choose to use these names? Absolute. Why?
I
Why
got.
Absolute? Or it
I
seems
don't
like
know.
they often just sort of choose an adjective
Yeah.
and go with it. With the uncanny X-Men, the Absolute Batman.
Yeah. Which this is like doubly weird for the choice because absolute. Like the absolute comics before these came out were like referred to like the DC's like $150 special edition big fancy hardcovers.
Oh.
Were called like the absolute edition, like the absolute edition of Watchmen or whatever. I don't know if they've ever actually
Hmm.
done that one, but like the absolute edition of a story, and it'll be like a big, really fancy hardcover worth like over $150.
That's weird that they would just abandon that as sort of a specific
They
product.
haven't. They still make them, but now they also have absolute. It makes searching through things kind of annoying.
Yeah, huge pain in the. I mean, at the same time, maybe that's what they're going for. They're trying to
Yeah,
trick someone into going like, "Ooh, absolute."
I've heard absolute
Just,
Batman's great. Let's buy the absolute Killing Joke. It's $163. I'm sure it's fine.
I guess that's just what a comic costs these days. Uh, Wow, that's super. I mean, I'm also now looking forward to absolute Batman. Whenever it inadvertently gets turned into a fancy hardcover version.
Yeah.
And so, is this canon? Is this what we're sort of accepting as the truth, or how does
So,
that
so
work?
this is an Elseworld, is what they're called in
Hmm.
comics, where they basically create their own canon of like, what if
Hmm.
all this? So like, what if Batman? Like other ones are like, what if Batman was a vampire? What if all of this happens in the 18th century? What if they're all pirates? What if,
Okay.
yeah.
And so this is more of a short-term run thing. This isn't what.
It kind of was planned to be, but also it's huge now, so they're just gonna. I'm sure that they have no plans on stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, take it as long as they can go. Because when we're
Yeah.
talking about it being an Elseworld, we haven't mentioned the plot yet, but it's essentially an alternative world where the way I've been sort of thinking about it is it's sort of like Batman times five. So it's sort of the Batman is five times bigger. He's massive, as we discussed in our last podcast. He's 6'8", 400 pounds, but he also is not wealthy. He grew up um, in more of a median range
Yeah.
income household,
In Crime Alley, the same place his parents were killed in the main series.
but no longer wealthy billionaire Bruce Wayne, just regular giant Jack Joe.
Yeah. He's also super young too. He's 23.
Yeah, young Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and all of the previous Rogues Gallery, as mentioned at the start of this, are his friends. So, Oswald Cobblepot, so the
Yeah.
Penguin, the Riddler, Killer Croc, and who am I missing there?
Two-Face.
Two-Face
And
are all
then they
his
also
his
they make
buddies.
many references to Catwoman, like Selina
Oh, that's
was their
right.
friend, but
She's not there at the
she's
moment.
disappeared.
Yeah, but they're all his buddies, and instead the villains are these people called the party animals, and who are
Yeah.
really
And
introduced after murdering. I think it was they murdered 32 people or something and
yeah.
blew
Well,
up a
and also
school.
so
And
the main villain is Black Mask, who is a Batman villain.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, but that really the violence brought by the Black Mask and the party animals is I would say much more elevated than I had become
Yes.
accustomed to.
It is a very brutal comic book, but also like it's not we're not quite at like it's like a very brutal PG-13. We're not quite at like blood and gore, guts, like
Hmm.
over the top.
No, but it's yeah, sort of teasing towards that for sure. I think in a couple of ways, especially when you have, for example, two knives being stuck into the eyeballs. That's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
brutal. So,
yeah.
and faces,
Lopping a guy's arm off with the
yeah, there's definitely a lot of brutalism in it. It's a very different kind of tone than
yeah.
perhaps you would normally expect of a Batman comic. And so is uh, the Apple Salute series, is this sort of the trend across all of them, or is this Batman specific?
It's basically the trend. So I guess okay, we're about to go into the nerdiest comic book story we've gone so far. Okay, so the central conceit of the Absolute Universe is so like about when Doomsday Clock came out, which I think is about 10 years ago now, they revealed that like Superman is like the cosmic centerpiece of all universes. So like time and space and everything like converges around Superman. He's like the
Okay.
centerpiece of everything.
Yeah.
And the absolute universe is like an alternate universe where that centerpiece is not Superman, it's Darkseid.
The supervillain, for those who may
Yes,
not be aware.
the supervillain for the new god, classically like generally considered the biggest baddest character in DC,
Mm-hmm.
literally the god of evil. And he's like the center, he's the central piece of this entire universe.
Hmm.
And so kind of like the interesting thing about that is all of the Absolute series have pretty much been a lot more like darker and more brutal. But then the central character, like the protagonists have all stayed relatively um like aren't much more dark and brutal than their main universe counterparts.
You literally did just mention that Batman lops someone's arm off.
Yeah, but he also like Batman doesn't kill anyone. It's like they make a big point of
That's
that. This is still no kill Batman. All the yeah.
that's true. That's a fair point. Okay. That's a very interesting way of them. Did they specifically say that this is around Dark Side?
Yes, there's it's something they've explained this in. I'm not actually sure because I've read all. I'm mostly caught up on an all six Absolute series,
Hmm.
and they haven't mentioned this in any of them. But this is like what I've heard from all the stuff about it. So
That's such a weird choice considering it's an Elseworld thing. They feel that they have to justify justify it and the
yeah, well,
tone that it's
they off
setting.
because this has been popular enough. Often they like to like bring Elseworld stuff into the main continuity somehow and all that. So who knows what's going to happen?
Okay, so maybe Absolute Batman is going to come crushing in
Yeah,
at some
Absolute
point in the
Batman teams
miniseries
up
and
with normal
just
Batman.
yeah, and starts just straight knocking people out with his giant spike back and weird long arm toe bat hooks or no finger hooks. Uh,
Yeah, it's knives in his little in his ears.
yeah, his knife ears. Yeah, the bat gadgets in this one
Yeah.
also very much Batman times five. No fun batarangs, just straight up
Yeah.
ear knives.
Yeah, but also I love they like this Batman's way more like the Batmobile is like this massive garbage truck. He's just attached a bunch of
Yeah,
armor to.
just a bunch of armor to this garbage giant
Yeah.
dump truck.
Yeah, but they do make a point though. Like this guy's like he's a engineering prodigy. Like he ended up in
Yeah.
the zoo because he was able to build the bridge and all that looked like a bat.
Yeah, no, I appreciated that. This did feel much like a Bruce Wayne, who's more of a. They always talk about how Bruce Wayne is one of the smartest characters in DC, but this felt more like justifying it than I'm used to with regular Batman.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they don't really often showcase his genius in the same way, whereas it was sort of on display much cleaner here. Which I appreciated. I thought that that was really interesting to really show his intelligence. I didn't understand where he was getting all of his money from to be able to like have all these different computers and invest in all these different hideaways and
Oh,
that.
I think that they'll bring this up in the future. He stole it all.
Oh, okay.
Him and Catwoman had a well, him and Selena had a bit of a history, which I guess that yeah, I think I mentioned in literally the next issue after this one's finished.
There you go. Well, that I'm glad that they explained that because I was certainly assumed. I think I first thought it when like you said, the Batmobile came out, and it's this giant dump truck with fully armored. I was like, how did he possibly afford this? But okay, I'm glad that they address it and don't just sort of let it go by the wayside. Um, I can certainly understand why this is so popular. It's really cleanly written. It's exciting. It's fun. You sort of don't know what to expect, and it's both paying an homage to a lot of the things we know and love about Batman and the characters, while also looking at it in a new way as well, which made it a really enjoyable read. I imagine that this is something that you've enjoyed reading as well.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, it's my favorite. Of the six Absolute series, it's my favorite of them.
Mhm.
Kind of a basic answer because it's like the most popular one too. But
And so, when something you mentioned at the top is that the absolute world you sort of see as this is the centerpiece of it, but that you also then mentioned that Superman is typically the center of the universe. Why is absolute Superman not the central point?
well, it's more than just like this one's like the most. It's the one that like this is in release like the release order. It came out first, so I guess. And Scott Snyder was like the guy like the
Okay.
main central force behind the ideas of the Absolute Universe, and then the actual other people were writing the other ones. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. If it was the first one to get released, that certainly.
yeah. But by like a couple weeks or whatever. Like the Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are all on the same like issue era. But yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Batman's just like the first of them.
Got it. Okay. And so then thinking about Batman being the first that came out in, but just the absolute in general. So why do you think they went this direction? Where it's clearly it's worked, that it's
Yes.
so popular and that people are talking about it. So what sort of what do you think is the impetus to take things and make them darker, grittier? Like, is that just sort of a general trend that you're seeing in comics?
See, here's the interesting thing about that. I think it's a different take on dark and gritty because they've been trying to make comic books dark and grittier like
Hmm.
since time immortal. But like this is like which this is the Batman one's a little less clear because Batman's already a very like brutal character, and like
Hmm.
you can't really have him with his like no superpowers unless he's like going all out. Like
Yeah.
if Batman's against like 10 guys, you have to have like a reason why he's able to fight them all, and like him being incredibly brutal is just the most logical way you've got it if you're still trying to be slightly grounded.
Hmm.
But the other ones, especially Wonder Woman and Superman, are like, here's a super dark world, and here are like two paragons of virtue. And like, how are they going to handle it?
Hmm.
I think
Okay.
that's part of what makes it work so well. Is like it's a dark world, and here's some like our characters are specks of light in them, not like well, like there's a big famous line that a lot of people bring up from like I think it was Batman versus Superman about like no one stays good in this world that Superman says.
Hmm.
And like how antithetical that is to like how Superman is normally treated. And like this is really that idea of like Superman's the world is so dark and brutal, but Superman's still going to be a little bit of light in that world.
Hmm. And whereas, and then I guess in Absolute Batman, the world is dark and brutal, and Batman is also dark and brutal.
Yeah, he's also dark and brutal,
But
but he's still like he is unquestionably a good guy.
yeah,
Like he is
that's
100% morally in the right at like every point in this story.
hmm.
Like
And
his
so
methods might be questionable, but there's like no question what he's like why he is doing it
yeah,
and the
what
results from it.
because what is it? I guess so. Why is he doing it? If you think it's so clear, because I don't know if they or no, they I guess they do explicitly state it that he's doing it because he loves Gotham and his parents loved Gotham.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. Batman's always got. Like Batman doesn't want anyone to go through what he had to go through.
Hmm. I mean, but that also certainly brings up something that I was wondering about, which is why do we think his mom is not like to be dark, but why is she alive? Like,
I think once just to give because well, I guess this is another going back into the ultimate back talking more about the absolute universe. One of the big changes they've had is all of the characters have vastly different origin stories.
hmm,
So I think that was kind of like let's throw a little wrench into it. Let's make it different. Like
hmm,
Superman was a teenager when he left Krypton in the Absolute story,
hmm.
and Wonder Woman was like literally raised in hell by Cersei.
That one feels like the biggest change.
Yeah,
Okay, so they're changing up the origin stories, and
yeah, and like yeah, Wally West was like a teenager who accidentally killed Barry Allen before becoming the Flash, all that kind of stuff.
yikes. Okay, that's a little bit heavier.
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's interesting though, just coming back to Batman. So I guess they're just trying to find ways that how do we adjust the formula slightly? Because it is that they're not doing things fully new, fully different, but it's almost like they're taking existing pieces in each of these worlds and then saying, how could we now change it while still sort of having that original form, if that makes sense? Uh, well, and it adds a new. It's also interesting because she's not a central character, but she's certainly a side character.
yeah. Well, she's an important character because she's also yeah. Gordon's the mayor now, and
Hmm.
her like his vice mayor is yeah
Yeah,
Martha Wayne.
totally. Uh, and so it's interesting then to because I guess that's sort of one of the first like new characters. Martha is the first new character out of all the people that we meet. Uh, but perhaps the most changed of all is, of course, Alfred Pennyworth,
Yeah.
who's not a butler, is
No.
uh, yeah, super soldier. extreme, which was, I mean, I guess it makes sense to sort of enter in on him at the start of the story because it very much
Yes.
sets the tone
Yes.
when you meet this Alfred.
Because yes, even though he's not the protagonist, he is the point of view character for the entire story,
Hmm.
or most of the story. Did he stop? I think, whatever. For the most
Yeah,
part, it's like he gives like his narration throughout.
that's true. Yeah, he provides a lot of that. Is that consistent throughout, or is that just in this first volume?
Uh, Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much consistent throughout.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's basically like
That's
he
interesting.
becomes out like he's still Alfred, still helping
He's still
out.
Alfred. He's still saving Batman,
Yeah,
repairing him up at the end of the fight. I mean, that's also a good example of sort of we know that as Alfred's character, but you don't need to have known who Alfred was in order to be able to understand this book. Uh, I think knowing all the characters obviously adds value to it, especially when you're looking at the rogues gallery turned poker group of villains turned friends.
yeah,
But uh, it doesn't rely on knowledge of the Batman comic or the Batman world to be able to understand and enjoy this comic. And so
yeah,
that I guess that also helps with it being accessible to people because we've talked about before being able to a good thing about is finding comics that you don't have to have a bunch of backstory to. So it's nice that this falls into that purview as well, where you don't
yes,
need to have read anything in order to be able to enjoy this.
yeah. If somehow you had never heard of Batman, this would still be a very enjoyable read, even
Yeah, it'd
if you.
still be super enjoyable, super. I think exciting is the main word I think about
Yes.
when I think about reading through this. Is it's a really exciting comic because you I didn't really know where it was going a lot of the time. The direction it takes isn't fully clear, and it remains very unpredictable. I think especially even for people, especially probably for people who have a background in Batman lore, when you see Falcone and uh, whoever the other one is, the two crime lord bosses
Yeah.
that go onto the yacht and then get murdered, and those are like two my understanding is fairly important characters normally in the Batman villain world. And they're just dead in this
Yeah.
world. So that's, I think, a great, really great writing and great storytelling because it's sort of immediately laying out like we're not saying that just because this is a big character in the normal universe, they're going to be a big character here. So everyone's on the chopping block. And so that's a good way to introduce stakes really early on, which I thought was great. Writing and super interesting as well. Um, I am confused a bit by the villain, Black Mask, because so we do meet Black Mask. That's Syossis or whatever the
Yeah. Well,
helmet
the
wearing,
guy in the boat. Yeah.
and
Whatever. I just remember his name is Black Mask because that's who he is.
yeah, that's who he is. What's the deal with his alien family?
That is a good question. That I think it's just he's got a bunch of purple friends, and
Purple friends who have tentacle heads.
yeah, and like one of the best moments of the thing is when Batman stuffs a life vest over the little one and just punts him into the water.
Yeah. And like really kicks him very hard and very far.
Yeah, the
Uh,
last one is just like he just looks at them and then throws a life
yeah, and
vest off and
then
they jump off after him.
yeah, and then she just leaves. She just pieces out. Yeah. Yeah, really very good villains as well. I always appreciate that kind of I mean, I think it's very Purge-esque. It's that same concept of like that people are wicked and influenced easily by money, and that makes it interesting.
Yeah, and then we have a little bit of like Martha Wayne deciding no, I don't. I like. I don't know if it worked entirely, but like
It
I
for sure
refuse
did
this.
not.
Yeah,
It did not work. She got extremely lucky that Bruce kind of saved her right at the end there. But
yeah,
that was certainly interesting that people did not proceed with doing crimes if there's no financial incentive. But I think that that's a very astute commentary on the power and influence of money. That people aren't necessarily inherently evil, but are easily influenced to evil
yeah,
when given motivation.
yeah. And also, but like how like with when the world's on fire, like do you take your like people will try to like take their own when they think they have
Mhm.
no chance, like when they think they have no hope.
Yeah, that's for sure. They
Yep.
sure do in this one by all the absolutely
Mm,
abhorrent things that are done.
absolutely.
And
How many times
this,
are yeah. How many times are we going to use absolute as our adjective of choice?
yeah, right, absolutely. Um, I'm just taking a look through. So then I just like talking about this universe. I mean, so how many volumes of this are? I assume that you're fairly far into how many volumes are
Uh,
out now.
so there are currently 11 issues. By the time this comes out, there might be 12. But yeah,
Hmm. Okay, so it's getting pretty far. I
yeah.
mean,
Well,
I'm
like
curious.
we're basically right near the end of the second story arc.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And has Robin come in? I'm just curious.
No, actually, that I'm sure that will make some attempt to bring some of the Robins.
Well, I don't know if they would, because that's what I was wondering. Because I think Robin has always played a very interesting role in the Batman universe. Because Robin notoriously not a very serious person.
No.
He's just in red, yellow, and green spandex, and
Yeah.
is
Okay.
usually an acrobat. Uh,
And like you're right. Actually, I bet a better way of saying it. I am sure that we'll meet Dick Grayson at some point in the story.
mm, because Dick Grayson is Nightwing, who
But and
also
just
has
more
an
like
edge.
more to the point that like maybe we won't meet Robin, but like it would be like it would feel like we'd be missing something if we don't get to see what their absolute effect is. Like even if he's not actually like a
uh,
thing, like
got
Batman will
it.
meet some kid, like they'll have effects of
Right.
something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does become harder when Batman is also 23. Uh,
That's a good point.
makes it a bit more complicated. Because how old is I guess Batman is normally in his 30s for in the regular comics. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they never like to give like exact ages for these
Of
things,
course, but
but I've always
this,
taken it as Batman's in like his late 30s. It always
yeah,
feels to be the way it makes most sense.
I think so. I feel like that's also usually the actors that portray him are usually in there, or, or maybe not the case for Adam West, but
Yeah,
who's to say? But yeah, I thought I was interested just because yeah, Robin is notoriously very adverse to the kind of like the opposite of how Batman usually operates,
yeah,
and so I was wondering if he does come into play. But that's pretty interesting that he hasn't yet. I think that
yeah, yeah.
certainly speaks to the absolute universe that it doesn't really have the same space for a Robin type.
Yeah, the central character of the second arc is Bane. And the
Oh,
fun part
okay.
about that is, you know how normally Bane is huge and so he can like tower over Batman?
It's kind of his
Eh,
thing.
Yeah, they didn't change it. No, Bane is still huge, so he can tower over
Oh,
Batman. It's just
wow.
that is how huge this Bane is.
That's just a super big Bane. Okay. Bane times five. Yeah.
Basically.
How do I write this? Just whatever exists in Batman times five. Yeah. Does he have a bat rope? No, give him a bat axe. Pretty crazy, but yeah, the story's great. The characters are really interesting. More in the maybe it's not that they're as complex. I mean, there's still even the fact that he kind of reveals himself to be Batman to his friends right at the end
Yeah.
there.
And
That
yeah,
was super interesting.
I think it's good too because it's I don't know about you, but I like did not trust this group of people initially, but like once they do, they're all kind of
Hmm.
like, yeah, we'll help our friend out. Like,
Well, really, did any of them help other than Riddler?
and Penguin
Oh no,
did.
that's right. Penguin
Penguin
also was
gave
the
him a
one.
ride, was
Yeah,
like, Bruce, you're insane. Why are you doing this? But
that's
like, get in
true.
the helicopter. We got
Yeah, Penguin helped
we
out.
got a
That's
city to
true.
save.
Yeah. Okay. So it's mostly Harvey that wasn't helpful.
Yeah,
And in fact was mad. I remember that was what it was. But Riddler was the one that I love that Riddler was the one that figured out where the mainframe was. It wasn't Batman. Riddler was like,
yeah.
oh, it's probably on his boat. Way to go,
And
Riddler.
then may or may not have figured out he was Batman ahead of time.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Riddler's such a weird villain.
Yeah.
That he always seems like what a goofy, silly
Yeah.
concept of a villain.
Well, that was always a big thing. Like Riddler spent a good like 20 years just having like no idea what to do with this character. From
Did
like
did they figure it out
85 till
eventually?
2005. Oh, absolutely. Which was then they realized, no, let's make Riddler actually as smart as Batman.
Okay.
And
Got
that's
it.
basically what they've been doing. Like that's basically been Riddler's point is like
Okay.
he is the absolute super genius with like an inferiority complex we have to constantly prove he's better than everyone else.
That is really interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
And I guess that does sort of that description aligns with the Riddler that we meet in this as well.
yeah,
That is an much more interesting character than just guy that likes riddles.
yeah. Well, and that was that was this problem throughout the 80s and 90s. Is like, how do we like? We've got this guy in a green suit who like would be a better criminal if he didn't have a gimmick.
Yeah.
His gimmick is actively sabotaging himself.
Yeah. Why is he doing it? Joker does it for the sake of chaos. Riddler does it because he likes to write funny rhyme schemes.
Yeah.
Doesn't really track. I mean, I guess you also see that even just the weird differences between the different Riddlers in other forms of media. When you're thinking of like the Jim Carrey Riddler and then
Yeah.
the latest Batman Riddler,
Yeah.
uh,
The 4chan Riddler.
the 4chan Riddler. Yeah, yeah. That I still that's such a weird movie in my mind.
I like
Still,
that movie.
I know that you. I know we've talked about. I know that we've talked about how you liked it, but it's still just weird. It still just doesn't. I think it's just because of the power of the Nolan trilogy sort of
Yes.
eclipses
That is a big thing. At the end of the day,
makes
The
it
Dark
hard
Knight is such a hard. Everything gets
trilogy to
compared to
sort
The Dark
of.
Knight.
Yeah, and I think that's just going to sort of be the gold standard always for Batman media, and you're just not going to be able to really get escape that.
Yeah.
It was just sort of too perfect of a coming together of director actor that
Yeah.
it just sort of is Batman. But now we have this new absolute Batman. Which I mean, who knows? Maybe this is setting the new Batman standard moving forward. I am very curious to see how long it'll run.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sure as long as people still buy them, they'll keep making them.
they'll keep
So
getting them out there.
the really
But
interesting one to compare it to will be okay. This is probably going to be asking you a lot. Even though I do know you read a bunch of these. Do you remember Ultimate X-Men?
I know that I read it, but what's
Yes.
part of it specifically are you asking me about?
Because it's kind of like that's kind of started in a similar. The Ultimate Universe from Marvel started in a very similar position to where the Absolute Universe did. With like, let's take new ideas and like make it simpler so it's easier to follow and all that. And the problem was, as it ran for a while, this universe got completely unwieldy and got weird, and decisions were made that like threw it into chaos and just didn't work. Like it collapsed under its own weight after like 3 or 4 years.
Interesting.
So the question
Okay.
is like, will that happen again?
Will that happen to Absolute Batman? And then how do they then, I guess then they have to try and quickly wrap it up and move on
Yeah.
to the next thing.
And then be like, and then pick your favorite character because Miles Morales then got sent to the normal Marvel universe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because he was
There you
originally from the
go.
Ultimate Universe, and like, yeah, him and the Maker were like the only two characters in the Ultimate Universe who ended up in the normal universe, and everyone else
Oh,
got buried.
wow. Oh, geez. So which of the absolute characters will make the cut to do the multiversal transition?
Yeah,
That's pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's overall great. Even the art's really great.
yeah,
The art's I would describe it as like standard comic. All of the frames are regular frames. They're not doing anything interesting with frames, but the inking's really good. The It looks really crisp the whole time. I think that they also do a great job differentiating between the three different time periods in sort of
mm,
a pretty clear way without it being extremely obvious, where you have young Bruce is like sepia tone, everything's yellow. Then you have like median age Bruce, which is more like hand inked. It's a little bit less detailed. You sort of have some of the almost looks like I don't want to say pastels, but sort of, do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
a little
like
bit more of that
it's
blending.
yeah, it's all almost like yellow and like so almost like a yellow filter over the child and like a blue
Yeah.
filter over the teenager.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, there's
Yeah, this is
something
like
else going
the
on there.
least creative way or least evocative way to say it, but yeah, basically,
Yeah, I mean, it's also very clear that we are not artists, nor
no.
we do not have the terminology to be able to explain these things, other than they all look different.
Yeah. And that's important. You at no point do you ever have like question what era you're reading in. It's
Mhm.
always very clear from the get-go.
Yeah, which is super. great to do. I think that's a really good indicator of success in art style when you're able to tell what the period is without it being jarring, one, and two, without it having to say in like a little bubble every time, whether it's present day or not.
Yeah.
Because if you're having to say that every time, you probably missed an opportunity to improve your visual media form. But yeah, lots of fun action words and action scenes, and again, just really harking back to that word of exciting. It's a visually exciting thing to read, and I think we sort of talked about. I think that yeah, there is a purpose to this kind of storytelling where it's new, it's different, it's taking a tried and true superhero and let's try something new and see what people think of it, I guess. And
Yeah.
clearly it's worked, and uh, I assume that they also always have messaging throughout, but I'm always a fan of the message around the corruption of people. That seems like a pretty tried and true. I think
Yeah.
especially when it comes to Batman.
Yeah, I think it's a great message for Batman because uh, almost like a universal constant across like all Batmans is Batman is always completely incorruptible.
Mm, yeah, give him $200 million
Yeah,
and he'll
he does.
set it on fire.
Yeah, like honestly, that's a really interesting thing to like to think about. Is like think about how often Superman super corrupted Superman gets used. Like,
Mhm.
what if Superman went evil? They never go into what if Batman went evil.
Hmm. I mean, they must have at some point,
No,
though.
they just don't. Like maybe there's some random comic, but like
What about when he was a vampire? Was he a good vampire?
yeah, oh, very much so.
Oh,
Yeah. That's
interesting.
literally like it's honestly perhaps spoilers because this is actually one I've been thinking about nominating. Is the Red Rain trilogy. Like the first story is like about him becoming a vampire. The second one is literally about him like trying to fight his vampire urges and like
Hmm.
how he do it with like never drinking blood ever and still being
Uh,
like yeah.
I feel like I
And
did
the third
read
one
this
kind of
when I
ruins
was
it.
younger.
You 100% you read the first two, and the third one
Okay.
you didn't read, and that was better because the story is way better if you just read the first two.
Hmm. Okay, good. There you go. It all worked out. I did it the right way. It's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, because like even though like the second one ends perfectly, it like doesn't need any more. It like has like a truly perfect ending, and then for some reason they made a third one that ruins everything.
You just had to push the bill.
Yeah,
Well, we'll see if that's certainly interesting thinking about that, thinking about Uncanny X-Men, and now thinking about this gaining hype and popularity. Will they be able to call it at the appropriate time before they jump the shark, or are they able to find a way to keep this formula going that makes it sustainable and interesting and engaging long enough for it to have legs of its own?
because we have six absolute comics are currently being released. They've announced a seventh with Absolute Green Arrow, and they're going to be doing like a one shot about like the absolute villainy, which is going to be
Hmm.
starring the Joker.
Oh, who's also in this?
Yes, very rare. And like also this next story arc, they're very much building up the Joker as like a background mastermind behind everything kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, there you go. So it does sound like if you're interested in finding out where comics are at with DC at the moment, pick up one of these absolute comics, whether it's
Yes.
Batman or one of the other ones. They're the place to be for anyone who's sort of interested in what do comics look like in the 21st century. Uh, or I mean, maybe not the 21st century, but
Yeah. In,
what do the
in
comics of
2025.
yeah, what do the comics of 2025 look like? Uh,
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah.
Go pick up Absolute Batman yourself
At
and give it a
Vesperia
read.
Comics, we have the first of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are all have trade paperbacks of their first arcs. And
Huh.
then we've got yeah. And then like we at least coming out in the next little bit for Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, and Flash.
There you go. Opportunities to
Yeah.
jump right on the train as it's leaving the station. But maybe don't jump on it if you're young or don't like violence. I would say it's pretty much open to everyone, but there is violence in this, and
Yeah.
like we talked about, there's a
There's
little
violence, but not excessive violence. Like we're not looking at like we're a level below the Punisher here.
Yeah, that's thank goodness. I imagine most things are a level below the Punisher. Good Lord. But all of that to say, wrapping it up, moving into our second section, Spence, what other kinds of content have you been enjoying this week? Any movies, TV shows, games, books that stood out to you?
Um, this is gonna be really weird, but I decided to watch a bunch of like the Mutiny on the Bounty movies.
I obviously have no idea what you're talking about.
You know the Mutiny on the Bounty, the super famous.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, like the most famous mutiny in history was about the ship called the Bounty in like the 17th century, 18th century, and there's like a bunch of movies made about them.
Okay.
And I've decided I wanted to watch a bunch. Like, they've made like 6 movies out of them, and I've so far watched the two most famous of them. And I'm kind
I
of curious to
am
see if I can find the rest of them.
looking at this. So this is a single event that has been made into a movie. When you're talking about they made movies about them, you're talking about Hollywood in general. And
Yeah,
you're talking about that people keep making a movie called Mutiny on the Bounty every like 30
yeah,
years.
basically.
Okay.
The most
So
famous one, yeah, the most famous two are the Bounty, which these are the two I've watched. I want to watch the rest of them. The Bounty, which is a Mel Gibson, Anthony Hopkins movie,
yeah.
and then there's a Marlon Brando one literally called Mutiny on the Bounty. Those are the two ones I
Yeah.
watched.
So the 1962 and then 1984. Um, but you now need to do the 1935. That's so funny. So it's just what an odd undertaking. Were the first two good enough for you to feel
I don't
like
know.
you
I just
had
kind
to?
of got it. I watched the Mel Gibson one, and that got me thinking. I want to watch the Marlon Brando one because I've heard about that one a lot.
Hmm,
And I was like, let's compare and contrast them all.
okay. So hypothetically, down the road, you'll will want to have a small. We'll have a.
Well, I don't
We'll
know.
have
It's the
a
hard part is finding them, like the 1930 something.
1935. Okay,
Yeah.
but what you're telling me is that you want to be able to provide a podcast essay on
Uh,
the different
you
Mutiny
know
on
what?
the
Sure. Yeah.
Bounty film adaptations as a bonus episode for no one to listen to.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it's often a thought I've thought of like comparing all those like classic stories. Like go through like all the Count of Monte Cristos. They've made like 18 of those.
Yeah, this seems like a doing six seems more
Yeah.
realistic. Though clearly you've already the fact that you still have to locate four and you is clearly an indicator this is not an easy undertaking you're doing.
No.
But good luck and report back as you make progress. That's very funny.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess I also have a theme around some of the stuff I've been watching that I realized it was unintentionally connected, not to the same level of having the same historical event, but certainly into a number of different stuff that I think are really driven by their art and just that how they stand out visually different. So, uh, Dan to Dan, approaching the end of its second season, I think at this point,
Yeah. It's been so
and
good.
the second season has been exceptional. I think that the
Uh,
first season was already great. The second season,
yeah. This is something I almost never do. I went back and watched an episode in English after I'd watched it in Japanese.
interesting. Why would you do that?
Because I was so curious because I learned they got the lead singer of Dragon Force to voice one of the characters.
Okay, fair. This is for the exorcism, I assume.
You know exactly which character they got the lead singer of Dragon Force.
I don't think I've smiled so hard watching a single piece of media as during the exorcism. Uh, there was something just absolute joyful bringing during this
Yeah.
anime about spirits and aliens and using a heavy metal band to try and perform an exorcism is just so genuinely wonderful and funny,
Oh,
and
it's so good.
everything about it is just perfection. Dandadan's a really interesting one because I think it is very weird in a lot of ways that makes it inaccessible,
Yeah.
but it's also extremely good
Oh, it's so good.
and
But yeah,
should be
it's
accessible.
probably a little anime for some people.
It's true. It's a little anime for some people, but if you can sort of make your sort of roll with it and accept it and really appreciate it as an art form, there's a lot there, and there's I assume what is going to become something of a famous episode from the first season with Acro Silky and sort of the
Oh yeah, well, just how the total whiplash of that episode.
yeah, I think it's sort of one of those things that's going to live in infamy for some time. Um, that really, I think it's cool when you sort of are watching something and like, oh, okay, this is going to be one of those shows that people talk about in 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Because of the impact and the way that it did a lot of things differently or otherwise did things extremely well. Because it takes some visual risks, which is why I was just talking about things being visually interesting because there's for sure some visual risks that it
Oh,
takes and it
yeah,
does.
they go all out for the
Yeah,
like action scenes. Like even the like thing against the composers, it's like that's like a
yeah.
minor little in the manga. It's just like a couple chapters, but they just go all out for.
Yeah, and I mean, even that this is an action anime that has them battling five famous music composers, who you can very clearly tell visually who they are, because of the details that they put into those characters. But that they have them fighting these musical composers, like that's we're talking about being very anime. It is a very anime, but the other thing that I've just started finally watching season two. I know I'm years behind on this, but Arcane, another
Uh,
really uh interesting visually.
yeah,
Um
I'm sure it's great, but
Still haven't
it
watched
takes a
it.
lot to get me to do something for League of Legends, man.
I mean, everyone I'm sure keeps on. But one day you'll crack and you'll watch that first
Yeah.
episode and you'll say,
Oh,
"Oh, I get it now."
here's the thing. I'm sure I have no doubt it's great. And you know what? If it was based on literally anything else, I would probably almost certainly have watched it by now. If it wasn't based on anything, I would certainly watch it by now. But I have such a visceral negative reaction to League of Legends that I'm like,
Which is so interesting as someone that's never played League of
yeah, I
Legends that
just
you're just
no.
so okay. Well, maybe one day I'll trick you and we'll watch the first episode.
Okay, I was worried you were going to say trick me into playing League of Legends because that's never happened.
Yeah, no, no, for sure not. Watching the first episode, but um, Arcane again, that's something that visually is so interesting and different and exciting because it's cell. I think it's cell. Is it cell shaded? I'm trying to think of what the art style is, but
Yeah, it's a special kind of thing for 3D animation that they
yeah,
use.
and so it's just really cool and different, and they don't just sort of. I think that we all sort of know what the 3D look is now.
Yeah,
And so when you run into these things that are not just falling into that, the Arcane again is one of those that also super good. Yeah, Arcane's great. You you'll you'll
yeah.
watch it one day. But yeah, it's set in the world of League of Legends, but you don't need to have played League of Legends by any means. In fact, it's probably even better if you don't, because then you don't know any of the characters and the arcs they're going to take and have any sort of predispositions about who they are and what they're going to do. But yeah, getting into the second season finally after the massive cliffhanger of the first season. So that's fun for me. And then of course, I've watched the biggest Netflix thing of all time.
Oh, K-pop Demon Hunters.
Sure is. Yeah.
No,
Who hasn't watched it at this point?
I haven't watched
I
it
was gonna
yet.
say I'm sure Spence hasn't yet.
I'm busy.
That
I have Mutiny on the Bounty movies to watch.
yeah, then we have higher priority things to do. Yeah, I mean it's good. It's very interesting watching something that you can tell they must have known as soon as they were watched it that they're like, oh, this is just gonna dominate everything. This
Oh,
is just
but
gonna be a massive hit. Because it's just sort of it's almost very much like K-pop, where it's built in a machine to be perfection. Uh, and
yeah,
that's
it's
sort of
something like the in the top 25 of like music, like the Billboard top 25 has like had six K-pop Demon Hunter songs on it or something like that for the
yeah.
last month. Something,
Yeah,
yeah. My
I
numbers are probably completely wrong. I'm just but it's something like that.
I think the main one was that it had Golden, one of the songs from K-pop Demon Hunters, is number one on the Billboard Top 100. And the last time that a girl group held the number one spot was, I think it was Fifth Harmony in 2001.
Oh, that's weird.
So
Deep cut right there.
take, I mean, Fifth Harmony. I think people know Fifth Harmony. Hopefully, um,
It was 25 years ago, man.
yeah, isn't that's pretty wild?
I can't
Yeah,
I
that's
can't think
true.
of any reason anyone who wasn't alive at the time would care about Fifth Harmony.
That's that's true. That's too bad. But uh, that's yeah, the way it is. I'm just now gonna look that up. The Billboard. I want to make sure I'm right and not just saying misinformation. Uh,
Okay, well, actually, looking this up, so
oh,
definitely not 2001 because Fifth Harmony was created by X Factor and like so it's probably like
I need to correct myself.
yeah, okay.
Huntrix became the first girl group to top 100 since Destiny's Child in
Okay.
2001. Not Fifth
That's way
Harmony.
more reasonable because yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. It was Destiny's Child, not Fifth Harmony.
Yeah, because yeah,
My
Fifth Harmony was created for
mistake.
X Factor, which like isn't from 2001.
Yeah, but yeah, Destiny's Child. I
Yeah.
mean, they they were I mean, Destiny's Child apparently looking here, they really dominated the Billboard Top 100 at the
Which,
time,
which,
but
which also I assume this is like a girl group, so female solo acts don't count because I'm sure Beyonce
no,
and
for
Taylor
sure.
Swift have had plenty of number
Yeah,
ones.
100%, 100%. No, this is specifically girl group.
Yeah,
But yeah, to have had a 25-year gap and then it be, or no, sorry, 24-year gap, and then to have it then be a animated movie that breaks that long dry spell is pretty hilarious. Um, this is also just very interesting now, looking at history of girl groups at number one. 90s really dominated. There was a lot of girl groups at the number one.
yeah,
Uh,
like obviously the Spice Girls, but
Spice Girls on there, TLC,
hmm,
Destiny's Child in there again as well. Whatever Wilson Phillips is,
I don't
Sweet
know.
Sensation. I don't know. Uh,
Once again, like Fifth Harmony, these are people from before we were born, so
there you go.
it's hard. It's
Uh,
hard to know.
well, before you were born, but I guess I also wasn't really aware of what the
Yeah.
pops.
I'm sure in the like slight in 1992, I'm sure you weren't paying attention to what girl groups are number one.
What is very funny is that on your birthday, SWV's Week was number one. So that's just a
There you go.
fun trivia thing for you to have. Uh, but I mean, the film was done by Sony Animation, who also did, of course, Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes,
So
like your favorite film of all time? Question mark.
yeah, it's certainly up there. I think The Matrix is always going to be my
Mm,
favorite film of all time. The Matrix, I don't think anything will ever be able to top that. I think that's too important of a
yes. Yeah.
of when it came, when I sort of got interested in movies and just sort of
Yeah.
the film powerhouse that is The Matrix. But it's yeah, Sony Animations doing something again, talking about the other two, Dan to Dan as well as Arcane. I mean, it's also doing the interesting visual stuff in this movie as well. So it's not to the same degree of Spider-Man because Spider-Man is like crazy
Oh yeah.
what they're
Spider-Man's
doing.
so crazy they've made the next one has been delayed 3 years as they try to actually make it work.
Yeah, and hopefully treat their animators better.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
that's an entire other issue of not treating animators well. Studio Mappa, I guess actually Science Saru is the one who doing Dan to Dan, not. But yeah,
yeah, but yeah, the animation in this one is also really interesting. So if anything, it's to watch it to sort of see what are they doing that's also, because it's again, it's not just accepting what's sort of become I don't even know what the term is for sort of the Pixar DreamWorks soft face that sort of has become that standard of 3D animation.
like Bean Mouth, is that what they call it?
Bean I think you might be right, but this is not Bean Mouth, which is good.
Yeah,
And just makes it. I mean, it is ultimately sort of like a young adult movie, but everyone's watching it because it does stuff that's interesting visually. The music is obviously extremely good. And it's funny and there's a reason it's past Squid Game. Take that, Squid
but
Game.
has it passed? Because I know it's the number one movie. Is it still? Is it above? Okay, so it is
It
above there.
happened today.
Oh wow.
AKA when you're listening to this, it happened
We
about 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it passed Squid Game, so it's now the big thing, and I feel like I saw it announced somewhere that there's already a second one now in the
Oh, no
works.
doubt. I'm
Which
sure. Yeah.
again,
It's
I think that they,
Sony demand more money from Netflix for this next one.
yeah, and I'm sure
Apparently,
that they,
they made like $20 million plus budget for it. So
hmm, wow.
Sony didn't get a ton of money from it, which is kind of the unfortunate part about the Netflix model.
Well, who knows about who's getting all the royalties off the songs?
No, that's a good point, actually. Hopefully the artist, but let's be real now.
Yeah, let's hope though. Oh man, I mean that's what's fun. I don't know if Huntrix exists as a real girl group. I don't think they do, but I don't know. But yeah,
Well, it's like I know like Spinal Tap is technically like a group that like qualifies for the Billboard. Like if you look at like statistics on things like Spinal Tap shows up. So I don't know why these guys shouldn't.
that's pretty funny. The mockumentary that is Spinal Tap.
Oh
That's pretty great. But yeah, if you have time between your mutiny
yeah.
mutiny films about mutinies of the 18th century. Check out K-pop Demon Hunters or Arcade. There you go. All these things that Spencer should probably watch but won't. But speaking of things, though, that Spence has engaged with, presumably there is one that you want to talk about because you need to now, of course, introduce what is next on the reading docket. Suspense. What are the fine folks
Okay.
at home and I getting to look forward to reading next?
Okay. So once again, we're back to manga, switching it up each time. And this time, far and away, the biggest manga we've done so far. Because we will be doing the absolute tome that is Junji Ito's Uzumaki.
Uzumaki Naruto?
No, but that means spiral in Japanese.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's and Naruto has a spiral on his chest that sealed the demon fox.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. There
Yep.
you go. Fun fact right at the end of the episode. Who
Yep.
knew? I legit didn't know that. Okay. And so I assume that this being, I've heard of Jinjo Ito, and so I
Junji
assume,
Ito.
okay, and I assume like Naruto, it will be lighthearted, fun,
Ah, yes. Yes, of
not
course.
incredibly dark,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
prob
Not to overhype this, but I have often stated I consider Uzumaki to be the greatest piece of horror media ever.
okay.
Like not even it's better than any movie, it's better than any book I've ever read for it's like in terms of pure horror story, you can't beat Uzumaki.
Not to overstate this, but as someone that declared that horror was one of my favorite genres, this is my favorite horror thing of all time. Seems like pretty big, a big statement. But
Yeah.
boy, and so when you said biggest, you meant literally the longest thing
No,
that
this
we've
thing's like
read.
600 pages. So,
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Uh
Not in terms of popularity necessarily,
oh,
but
it's pretty easily Junji Ito's most popular thing, and Junji Ito's very popular. So this is a
hmm,
huge, yeah. It's not the biggest thing we've ever done in terms of popularity, but it's a big popular one.
big popular one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Don't
All
watch the
right.
anime adaptation of it.
That's good to know. Good to throw that in there.
It's
That often seems to be the case when it comes to horror anime, that they don't really
Junji
do.
Ito in particular has basically every adaptation they've ever made of his work is terrible.
Oh, poor Gingy. Well, he
Yeah,
probably is actually happy about that. He gets paid,
he
and then
gets
people
paid.
prefer what he
Yeah,
probably prefers is his media. That, I mean, that seems like a double win. He gets paid, and people still prefer his content.
yeah.
It seems like a win,
He's
but
also what I'm sure we'll talk about more of this next time. But yeah, Junji Ito's a very peculiar guy in the fact he writes like some of the most horrifying stuff ever and seems like a very pleasant, well-adjusted individual.
yeah, isn't that sort of a trend of the you never know what's going on behind the smile kind of situation. Okay, so but maybe some warnings to those who are faint of heart or don't like horror slash I'm gonna guess gore or
It's
psychological
gory, but
trauma
it's
and
much this the psychological issues are significantly more of a problem than the gore.
okay, so if you don't like dealing with psychological horror and psychological trauma, maybe steer clear of this one. But maybe you'll want to hear more about what our thoughts are on it when we discuss it in a couple of weeks. But if you're very curious about Uzumaki like I am now, you can order that at VesperiaComics.com for pickup at Vesperia Manga and Comics if you're in the lower mainland of beautiful British Columbia, or you can order it for Canada-wide shipping. But of course, you could also maybe pick it up at a library or share with a friend. Find some other alternative forms of obtaining it as well. But that's it for episode 17 of the Long Comics Book Club. Thanks so much for joining us. You can follow us again, Blue Sky and Instagram for updates, YouTube and TikTok for short form content, but also jump into those comment sections. Get in the comments. Share your thoughts on either Absolute Batman, maybe Uzumaki, or any of the other long comics that we've talked about on the podcast.
Well, like a new volume of Kigurabachi is about to come out. So here,
There you go.
now tell
Yeah.
us if volume 5 somewhat like we were wrong to.
Yeah. We've already had one guy pop off on YouTube about how wrong we were.
Yeah.
So if you want to pile on about how we don't understand how good it gets, jump on in those comments. Let us know. No, any kind of feedback's appreciated. Any kind of insights, opinions. Love to hear from people. There was some other comments about Death Note the other day that was from someone I don't know if they fully had a grasp of the English language, but that I was super into. I love that anyways. I think that that's great. I think it's fun to be able to share thoughts and dialogue, and that's one of the fun things about social media is being able to engage in those spaces. And I still have a goal of one day reviving the Discord. It'll come back one day. Not today is not that day, but
You're
one day.
a bit busy.
Yeah, Discord, as someone that didn't sort of grow up with Discord and hasn't engaged with it a lot, it is an extremely confusing platform to try and understand and navigate. But uh, all of that to say, Uzumaki, the next podcasts, jumping onto the airwaves September 27th. And we will look forward to talking to you then. Bye bye.
Hey.